Ooh, what's up? What's happening? It's Dominic D'Angelo. I'm of adfreeshows.com, SEScoops.com, and brassringmedia.com. Check it out. But today, you're checking out Rumor and Innuendo. It's just me today, flying solo. Robert should be back tomorrow, I believe, after being on assignment. And I am on assignment today with you guys to talk WWE Raw and whatever that is hitting the dirt sheets currently as it stands. I haven't looked, but if you do want to check out something, last night on brassringmedia.com, I happened to do a Scott Hall birthday celebration. If you're not familiar, Scott Hall is my all-time favorite wrestler and would not be doing what I am doing if it was not for Scott Hall. So yesterday was his birthday. It would have been his 67th birthday. And I did a little birthday celebration. So played some clips, talked about my Scott Hall fandom, what he meant to the business. So go check it out. It's at brassringmedia.com. Really proud of that. I went about 45 minutes talking about Scott Hall. So fun times. I can talk about Scott Hall probably for an hour and a half, maybe even 2 hours. So Chico, check it out. Let's see how to some folks in the chat that are oozing machismo as well. We got Triple E saying, "What's up? What's up?" Jeff Hanger saying, "Hello, RNI. Big news, according to Russo, that after John Cena's retirement in WWE, he's going to AEW." Did he really say that? My goodness. That is quite the take by Vince, bro. Dre Owen says, "Hello, RNI. I wonder who the teams will be for the AEW Women's Tag Team Championship tournament. Is that announced for this Wednesday?" I was curious if they did something because we haven't heard about the tournament since the belts were announced. Wrestling Old says, "Happy Tuesday, everyone. Raw felt special last night, like they're moving to bringing up new talent to the top of the card. I'm all for it." Yeah, we're going to parse apart a little bit of Raw, and I'll give you my takes on what went down here shortly. Tony Gong says, "Hello, all. Finally found that the last hour of Dynamite from last week." Did you really? Did they post it after the fact, like later on? Or give us some details, Tony. Were you just overlooking it? What happened? Raw Night of Champions. Yeah, really? It really was. Wrestling Old Ed also adds, Tony Storm and Mina Shirakawa have to be favorites. Marina Shafir should bring in Shayna Baszler. Oh, that's a good take. Yeah, I think Shayna is a producer a little bit for WWE, so I don't know what her standing is there. Honestly, if she's up for it, bring in Ronda Rousey, right? Yeah, I would. Triple E, when you gonna Robert out the van? LOL. Can get Robert out of the van. Can you make sense why AJ Lee won the tag titles and not the New Day or Motor City Machine Guns or any team? Well, don't they each have their own tag team title? No, I guess it is one Universal Tag Team Championship. Is it? No, that's not true. There's tag team titles for each show. Man, that really speaks to the standing of the tag division. Man, yeah, they got to do something about that. I'm really sad I missed it, Dom. I'll check it out. Yeah, check it out. It was a lot of fun. Also, okay, this ties in. Wrestling in regards to Meltzer theorizing Cena will show up in AEW. Ella Hulk Hogan leaving WF to WCW. Hope brings eternal. LOL. Well, it was Russo, right? It wasn't Meltzer. Right? It took a few days, Tony said, for the Collision to show up under Collision. All right. Thank you for all those comments. Man, hammered through a bunch already. Holy smokes. Regarding Meltzer, I'm probably going to do another live show here this week again. I actually voted for the Observer Hall of Fame. I casted my votes for several categories and submitted them. And so I think I'll break that down and give my reasons as to why I voted for particular people at this time. Tough ones to choose. I'm going to say that much. Really tough choices. I had to omit a couple that I didn't want to. Yeah, I'll probably do a live show on that. Also tomorrow, I think RVD and I are planning to go live at 9:15 p.m. So mark your calendars. I'm going to follow up with Rob here after I do this and see if he is down for tomorrow night. We'll go instead Wednesday night. Yeah, there's no way Cena's going to AEW. He's done wrestling. Why in what world would it make sense for Cena to go to AEW at all? There isn't. He is paid very well by WWE, and when he does it, and now he's in Hollywood. There's a reason he's saying farewell. He's saying goodbye. He's done wrestling. He's going to Hollywood. Don't think Batista's coming back, right? Cena's not coming back. He didn't do this tour just to say bye and then go to AEW. That's a ridiculous take by Vince Russo. That's a ridiculous take. Wrestling Old Head says, Excalibur, we know who that is. The prototype in AEW is in AEW. Oh my God. Yeah, that's not happening. What did happen was W Raw from Sacramento. And yeah, I am with Wrestling Old Head, and it was a good show. It felt like a big deal in a lot of ways. I will say, not completely a fan of the show, but I really overall liked it. I think there was some fun moments when it comes to yeah, you had all the titles on the line. I like how they kicked off Raw, where Braun is just busting the balls of Adam Pearce, making him say like respectfully hand it over and then please hand it over, like really needling at him. And like Braun is good in those little moments, kind of thing. So I thought that was cool. So this is where my the necessarily believability, and it kind of ties in later on because they did kind of correct course. But why was Braun and Bronson even advertised at all for that battle royal? If you think about it, they are the ones that made this happen in the first place. Why are they being rewarded by being in this match? And so that initial thought was kind of strange, but you know, they easily got out of it later on because Braun, Heyman got their comeuppance because Pierce made Heyman say please, and then Pierce was like, no, it's not happening. So the reasoning was all there actually. So it like you can angle it like it was a mistake on the graphic designer's part to put Braun and Bronson on there, or Pierce noticed that they were advertised for it and he was like, no, take them off. So, oh, thank you. Sega Matt John or 777 like to subscribe to your channel already. Thank you. Appreciate that. Devin Delling says, I was just on IG and seen a post by Layla Gray as a model during Fashion Week, and damn, forgot all about wrestling. Yeah, she's pretty attractive, right? Good looking lady there. Wrestling Old Head adds, Braun Breaker's fitting into this role. I understand why they took him out of the Battle Royal, but Pierce should have had the bronze exempt from the start. Yeah. So you can play it off like, yeah, they weren't supposed to be on the graphic, just a mistake on our designer's part. And so, like, that can still be explained at this point. Sega, I don't think that's happening. Seth Rollins is out. He's injured. So I don't think we'll get that. And I think it would be too soon, to be honest. I think Seth should be out for a while. Even if he's not hurt long term, I think you should keep him away for right now. I think there's more story you can build later on between him and Braun if you really want to do that. But yeah, let's go over Monday Night Raw and what went down on it. Yes, like I said, it kicked off with the division. And let me say, I think them correcting course, it felt like them correcting course, but I thought they got there okay. You know, the reasoning behind it, like, seemed like, oh, Seth got hurt, and so we have to think of something. But I was still able to buy into it. Like, you know, because Paul Heyman was just like, yes, I didn't see the future in Seth Rollins. I saw the future in Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed. And so, like, I thought it was angled very well, all circumstances considered. But I do think it was like, it did feel like, oh, yeah, they had to correct course almost. That's kind of what it felt like. That, you know, I almost was hoping that, like, you know, I didn't want Seth to be injured. I was hoping that, you know, they were just pivoting away from the aspect of this angle as Seth as the leader of the division is not working, and we need to do something to spice things up a little bit. But either way, I guess how it pays off is how it pays off. And so I thought, you know, ultimately, you know, it was okay for the circumstances considered. Hey, we did have that World Tag Team Championship match. It's AJ Styles and Dragon Lee. They took on the Judgment Day. We got new tag team champs. AJ Styles and Dragon Lee are your new W World Tag Team Champions after what was a fun match. And Yeah, think it's cool. There's a lot you can take away from this. AJ's super over. AJ, this will be a good way to start off his farewell tour in certain ways. A good bounce back, considering he just lost to John Cena in what was a really, really memorable and maybe match of the year candidate for sure with him and Cena. So him getting this win makes sense because AJ's a big star, and AJ has that gusto and star power. And so this is how I would handle it too. Ultimately, when AJ and Dragon Lee lose these tag team championships, at some point they will, you make Dragon Lee a loyal friend to the end for AJ Styles. You do not have him turn on him. You have Dragon Lee be AJ Styles Robin to his Batman, and you make him feel like this big deal because they did that initially with Rey Mysterio, but I just don't think they made the most of it. Here might be the opportunity to do that. And if you believe in Dragon Lee, if you think there's so much more for the future with him as a wrestler, and in that realm of the next Rey Mysterio, pair him with AJ, have him be that loyal friend, and have him be somebody that AJ can always, always rely on. Almost to harken it back to Shakespeare, he would be Horatio to Macbeth. Do I have them on my characters right? Yes. No, my God, I don't. It is. I'm thinking Banquo. He would be here Horatio to AJ's Hamlet. So if you know that one, there you go. So he's just a loyal sidekick and a cool guy to root for. Hey, Larry Z, what's up, Larry Z? Thanks for joining Robert on assignment. Yes, he is on assignment. um, but yeah, I thought that was fun. Cool. Good way to charge AJ Styles back up after his crown jewel match. We also then had another championship match that was Dominic Mysterio defending his Intercontinental Championship against Rusev. Did want to make note that the segment with the Judgment Day was nice. I liked it. I like that there's tension there. I like that Dom is kind of like, oh, what? You can't beat AJ and you can't beat Dragon Lee. I beat AJ plenty of times already. Like, that was just mean and cool and developed some fun tension in between. And then and this speaks to this match too. Rusev, obviously a force, and Penta gets involved, and Mysterio beats Rusev after getting a low blow. Now, Dom had the ring bell hammer in his boot and was gonna use it against Rusev, but Rusev caught him, pulled the boot out, the hammer out, was gonna hit Dom with it, and the ref pulled that away. And when the ref did that, the ref's back turned, and Dom low blowed Rusev, and then got the cheap win against Rusev by hitting the 619, and then the frog splash. I almost call it the 5-star frog splash. And so Penta then battled Rusev. So we're getting this Penta Rusev feud right now. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that. I think, one of these guys, I think you could have had in a higher kind of angle, whether that either of them won the Intercontinental Championship. I love that Dom is like doing this Eddie Guerrero, like cheat to win, kind of vibe with him going on. Does he need the title right now? I mean, I think in a lot of ways, yeah. I think it's probably good to keep on. I think about it because if you're building tension with the Judgment Day and the fact that they lost the titles, Dom is winning by cheating, albeit on his own too. He's not getting any help, but he's cheating. Uh, you know, like you have the rest of the Judgment Day, taking losses, and Dom is the only one winning. So him being that Intercontinental Championship, ultimately you can pay that off, I think, by having one of those Judgment Day members cost Dom that title, or maybe Finn himself wins that championship. Who knows? We did have a little backstage segment that led up later on too with the Usos. Jay, being all about that Roman Reigns is not here, and kind of wanting to lean towards what Roman's viewpoint is. And Jimmy's like, well, Roman's not here. we're both in this battle royal, and you better be looking out for yourself because I am going to be in that battle royal, and I won't have a problem eliminating you. Basically, is what he said. And then the brothers both indicated that they were good, and then we move on. So, let's see here. We then had Maxine Dupree and Becky Lynch, which I also thought was a cool match. Maxine Dupree is pretty over. She looks great too. And you know, she wrestles pretty darn well too. I think, and I think you can kind of tell Becky's having fun with this. Becky disqualified herself by hitting Maxine with the belt, and so Dupree gets the win via disqualification. So more to come with this. I think. I just don't think he can. Will Dupree ultimately get the title off of Becky? I don't necessarily think that might not be a bad move. Uh, yeah, because Maxine is over. If she jobs out to Becky, then she's kind of back in the position that she was in the first place. So maybe it might be a good move to put that title on Maxine Dupree. Then we have another match: Stephanie Vacour taking on Roxanne Perez. Vacour gets the win here. And then we get Raquel and Roxanne attacking Vacour after the match. And who makes the save but Nikki Bella? And, it almost looked like Vacour legitimately got hurt, because she came in to clear house, ultimately with Nikki. And she almost did like a phenomenal forearm thing, but she slipped a little bit on the top rope doing that springboard and didn't connect with whether it was Roxanne or Raquel. I'm not sure, but she didn't connect or get all of it. And I was like, oh, and she kind of came up lame on there. And so I was curious if she actually hurt herself a little bit. So hopefully she's okay. But then afterwards, they had another backstage segment with Nikki and Stephanie. Nikki saying that she's her friend and that she's going to look out for her and that she's probably going to need her help here at some point because she made some enemies with the Judgment Day. And Vacour was like, yeah, I got your back. And made me think about, are they doing a heel turn with Nikki Bella? That's what it made me think about. So who knows? Because we just saw the return of Nikki Bella. So maybe they'll, it seems like, when you have those cases of a veteran coming back and being a baby face, and then they ultimately lose, kind of like what Nikki Bella has done with like Becky Lynch and stuff, it almost feels like this is a setup for a heel turn, more so. Let me talk about that backstage segment too with Heyman and Becky Lynch, and Adam Pearce. That was cool. But Paul Heyman tried to swindle Becky into making consider, hey, just because we kicked your husband out doesn't mean that I can't still be the advocate for you, basically, is what Heyman pitched to her. And Becky wasn't having it. Called him a penguin-faced, can't remember what she said. But, basically was like, no, I'm not doing that. And you better watch out because Seth knew you were going to turn on him at some point, and actually he was surprised with how long you lasted. And so, again, this felt like this was unexpected because it feels like they had to pivot because of injury here. Now, ultimately, maybe Robert could still make the case that this is all a big ploy on everybody's part. But honestly, I don't think it would be a good move to do that. Have Seth come back. It would just diminish what Bron and Bronson are doing right now. And Seth, he can find a different role for at this point. Becky's still clearly a heel considering what she did with the Maxine Dupree. So I really hope that ultimately, Seth doesn't have to lose anymore because he got stripped of the title, but maybe Seth goes to SmackDown and doesn't even address Heyman. Becky loses the championship, Intercontinental Championship, maybe against Maxine Dupree, and both go to SmackDown. And then they're both cowards. And they don't address the Heyman stuff, and people can throw that back at them. Hey, you ran away from the vision. You got kicked out and you didn't even do anything. So moving Seth maybe over to SmackDown or something where ultimately might be a good move. Do I want to see Seth come back as a babyface? I don't think so. I mean, I don't, unless you can do something really, really fun and different with him. He's got a great idea that can actually get a different side of Seth then possibly, but I don't know. I think you give off this power couple of Seth and Becky being. Oh, you could do some fun things actually. Now that I think about it, if you look at how Randy Savage, the dynamic between Savage and Elizabeth were, what if you reversed roles in that, where like Savage was almost like mentally abusive to Elizabeth? What if you had Becky kind of needle at Seth and needle at Seth? You make this like a slow build where Seth is still a heel and like along the side of Becky, but like Becky is just mean to him, just straight up mean, and like says some mean stuff out of nowhere, and Seth be like, "Hey, what?" And you can kind of build to that where Seth ultimately feels like a bigger baby face, and it'll mean something when things kind of explode between those two. I don't know, something to think about. Let's see. Before we talk about the main event, let's look at some of the comments here. Let's see. Whew, sorry, just scrolling back to see what people are saying here. Devin Dowling says now AEW and Raw have random thrown together tag teams of champs. Yeah, but and it did. It really made me think about Rodito actually when AJ and Dragon Lee won. It did make me think about those two. Like, do these two have great chemistry? I think they will. I think Dragon Lee can learn a lot. He's athletic, and AJ is the best to ever do it, basically, in the way he does it. So, yeah, I think there's an opportunity to have a really fun run here with AJ and Dragon Lee for a while. Don't necessarily think it's a bad thing, but it made me think about like, man, yeah, the tag division's kind of all over the place. On Raw, it's just like, who else you got? You got New Day. You have Judgment Day, obviously, who just lost the titles. I did not know Eric. Was Eric hurt again from the War Raiders? Like, wasn't he just hurt? Like, because they mentioned Ivar going on like a singles run now. So I'm like, did Eric get hurt and I just missed it? But so you have those two. Is there any other tag teams that I'm missing on Raw? Yeah, I don't know. It's almost kind of a bummer in ways to be like, why don't you those tag team titles on both shows don't feel like they mean a whole lot. Would it be a bad thing to unify them? I know you just made new titles basically, but if you're not doing it and like you're not putting a focus on these tag titles and they don't feel as important, they're not going to, what a way to make them feel more important if you just had one full set of tag titles and that those tag team champions can travel from show to show. That would be the extra kind of incentive to winning the tag team championships is that you are all across brand free. Um, so that could be a cool gimmick, but will they do that? I don't know. Triple E says he'd rather have anyone have the women's Intercontinental Championship than Becky. I don't know. I really do love Becky as an Intercontinental Champion. Like, I think she's great at it. She's elevated several people since having it. Lyra Valkyria and now Maxine. So I like Becky as this heel champion. Like, I wouldn't be against like her losing it, but I mean, she's fun as a champion too. At the same time, makes the title mean something and feel like a big deal when she has it. So like, as much as I think like how much it might benefit Maxine, and ultimately you can do that. Maybe like Becky keeps running away from Maxine, and like because she is afraid that Maxine has her number. And then when it's all said and done, maybe if you do decide to make a move where Becky and Seth go to SmackDown, then you have Maxine ultimately beat her. But I think there's a way to do it. Devin Dowling says, I hope this is all for Natty Neidhart to stand up for Maxine and officially be the Natty we see in Bloodsport and NWA. Now, that would be a good payoff. That would be a good payoff for that. But then Maxine just feels diminished. How much investment do you have in Maxine Dupree? Because if you do that, she's second fiddle to Natty. Are you really going to put your chips behind Natty? I love Natty, and I think that new style is amazing. And I would not be against Natty being that champion. to defeat Becky, that person. But where do you see that going somewhere for a while? I think you could do that, Matt, and maybe that would make more sense. And you know what, Devin? Now I think more about that. If she was the one to defeat Becky, you can ultimately have Natty go on this tear too, and then it's Maxine that defeats Natty, and you tell a full circle story in that regard too. So there's some different ways to do that. Wrestling old head adds, Natty might turn on Maxine. I don't know if it's the right move, but I could see it happening if Dupree wins the IC title, and that also would not be bad. That's another option you can have. Is that Maxine thinks she unseated Becky. Becky leaves town, and then Natty is the next up in line, where she, the coach, becomes the adversary. So I think that might be a good choice too. See, that would be good. Is that what that was, Jeff? I did see that there was like the black screen appear at one point. And I was like, did the lights go out? What happened? Because I was waiting for the commentators to react. But no, I thought it was just a glitch then. But did Nikki slip up or something that was really bad? Is that's why they did that? Because I noticed that too. Wrestling old heads. I think Braun and Bronson should move to take out all the older guys, which could eventually lead to Roman and Seth reuniting for one night only. Yeah, not bad. Not bad. There's something you can do down the line with that. I just don't know where Seth fits in actually at the moment. I just don't. Let's see. Was he champs? Yeah, I guess he was, wasn't he? AJ was champs with an 8-foot almost. Now 5'5" Dragon Lee. Oh, Alpha of Academy is the other tag team. LWO, thank you. Los Americanos. The Creeds. I love the Creeds. Where are the Creeds at? I know. Like, that's what I was thinking in the Battle Royal. Is like, we got El Grande Americano in there, and then I was like, well, Gable's hurt. I know, but where are the Creeds? Brutus and Julius are great. Like, they really are. Julius is very good. I think Julius has some Bruno vibes in certain ways. Yeah, I like Julius a lot. Devin says he has almost no investment in Maxine. She's Otis and Tozawa's teammate. Yeah. Could she be the one to turn heel at some point? I don't know. She's a good baby face, but wouldn't she be a better heel? She might fit better in that. All right. Something slipped out for Nikki. Uh-oh. Jeepers. Long Beach City, California Joe. Dom, I'm feeling your booking for Natalya. She deserves a run with the IC title. Yeah. It's like, I don't think that would be bad, especially if you go Natty, right? You want that Natty character. That's something you can really pull out. And I think a heel turn might be doing that in regards to what other people are saying on here. Wrestling Old Head in particular, I believe, was saying that. So, all right. Yeah, that's what I think, Dre, is that Nikki will be turning heel on record. It seems almost a little telegraphed. That's the vibe I was getting by their backstage exchange in certain ways. All right, let's talk about this Battle Royal here. I love Battle Royals. Tying back to Scott Hall, one of my most memorable matches was 1993 Raw. I believe it was 93. Yeah, where Scott Hall and Rick Martel became the two finalists in the Raw Battle Royal to determine a new Intercontinental Championship. So they won that. They both were the two finalists. And then the next week on Raw, they had a match for the vacant Intercontinental Championship. And that's when Razor won the first Intercontinental Champion. Became his first Intercontinental Championship, and then became an unprecedented 4-time champion, the first to ever do that. Big fan of Scott Hall. So I like Battle Royals, and I like it when they're executed really well. I thought overall this one was pretty well executed. Some fun stories kind of being told in certain ways. I like that AJ was really a big survivor in this match. It really spoke to, AJ is he's a tough out, he had a big battle at the plate there, and he won the championships earlier on, and but he's so good, he's still tough to get out. And I think they told that story really well. CM Punk is great on commentary. He's so good on the mic that he can just pick anything right up. Like, he can just sit at the commentary table and tell you stories that happened in the past, like earlier in the show. And like, give the history of some wrestlers and stuff like that, and make it add value to commentary even more so, you know. And Punk did a great job at that. He adds humor, and he adds knowledge and insight, and fun, like, just, yeah, funny to it. He's funny. So that's I always get pretty amped up when Punk goes on commentary because he's so good. He's so good at being that analyst. I'm so curious how, once his in-ring career kind of wraps up and winds down, what will he ultimately decide to do with WWE? Because there's so much value in having him as a commentator, you know. And I really think that they would still want him to be an on-air personality. You know what I mean? So, like, putting him in a color commentary role where he's like riffing with somebody, whether that's Joe Tessitore or heck, a Corey Graves. Man, him and Corey Graves, like, they have a history with one another. Kind of be them. That kind of be cool for them to be a commentary team at one point or another together. I think, but he's good. Really? CM Punk good behind a microphone? That's surprising. I like Punk a lot. So I think he did a good job on here. Did anybody notice the Kofi comment? Like, he said, after they were getting the Judgment Day were getting the beats of the Bowery or whatever it's called, he was like, their chests are gonna look like Kofi Kingston's when it's all said and done. And I thought that was funny because he's talking about Kofi has that dent in his chest. It's just like you can tell they're buddies, and Punk was busting his balls like on commentary about that. So funny. I like it. Yeah. People are kind of adverse to battle royals, but I am a sucker for them when they're done right. And this one was overall, I think, done right. Let me just say this though. Jey Uso winning, it kind of telegraphs what's going to happen at Saturday night's main event. I can't envision a time where Jey Uso wins the championship again. Right now. So it's like Punk's got to become the new champ, right? Like, you can't. I mean, you could put Jay on there and have him in this role, and maybe it's just like I think they're pivoting. So, like, you're having this role where he's like kind of turning heel. Like, Jimmy has looked out for Jay that whole battle royal to tie into their backstage segment earlier on. Like, Jimmy, although he said he was going after Jay, he actually defended Jay several times in this match. And then it was ultimately Jay, who Jimmy kind of convinced to, like, be bloodthirsty in the match, ultimately took out Jimmy, with LA Knight. So I'm like, this match of Jay and Punk again kind of plays into that pivot where, like, it feels like a clear pivot because Seth Rollins got hurt rather than, they were like, oh, let's move away from Seth Rollins and Paul Heyman, where it was just like, Seth is hurt, so we got to make some changes. It felt like that because this match, while you do have the intrigue of what is exactly going on with Jay, and but, like, I gotta kind of think it's like, you want to keep things hot heading into WrestleMania season. I mean, put that title on CM Punk because he's your star right now. Like, he's so good. He's like, I don't want to say he's in a league by himself, but he really is. He's like in that level of, Cena and Orton, and Orton, like, is great too. He's legendary, obviously, and stuff. But, like, I guess, you always compare Punk with Cena. He still feels like that. So, I mean, if you're want to make your product feel like a big deal as you head into your biggest season of the year, like, you put that title on to Punk and you go with that instead. Yeah, I don't think there's some sort of chase that you give because I don't think you have a big enough heel at the moment for it to be like somebody else. Now, Braun Breaker could maybe unseat Punk at WrestleMania. You could tell a fun story there because of Paul Heyman and everything that. But like Braun being the future of WrestleMania makes a lot of sense too. So, I mean, like Paul Heyman said earlier in the night. So that's something to kind of think. Yeah, I don't know. I hope they're not trying to do this Triple E. Triple E saying they trying to redo the Bro versus Bro match. I mean, that first match was not good. It was not good. But maybe Jay and Jimmy have confidence in themselves that, hey, we know we put up a stinker out there. We know we can do better. So maybe they're going to give them that shot to do better with it, with Roman's involvement in some form or fashion. So, but overall, I think a good show of Raw. Like, yeah, I kind of question it being Jay to be in the Saturday night's main event. I would almost have hoped that they brought in somebody like different, um, kind of unexpected. I don't know necessarily who would that be. I'm just coming, just how my thought process is. Like, I don't know who's been out and who can come back or anything like that. But I almost feel like, I wouldn't put Gunther in that spot. You could put him in that spot, like where he was a surprise entrance and he ends up winning, and then you get Punk and Gunther too. But then you just job Gunther out to Punk. I don't think you put the title back on Gunther at that time. That would just feel redundant, I think, because I think there's different stories to tell right now. But who knows? Who knows? I think there might be something down. I think the right course of action now is to just put the title on Punk, and then find a good heel to go up against him moving forward. Tell a fun story, and then if you're able to last with Punk as that champion, like where he has like a small feud with somebody in between, then you pivot to him and Braun Breaker. There's some stuff there. Maybe LA Knight ends up joining the New Vision at this point. At first I was kind of against it, but maybe Knight gets so frustrated that he's lost the Battle Royal, and maybe he goes on a little losing streak, and then he gets paired up with Heyman and Braun, and then Bronson. But I almost feel too that there's a powerful duo with Braun and Bronson, and they don't need anything else right now at the same time. So Jeff Anger adds, if Punk wins the title, then you have Braun win the Rumble at WrestleMania. Do have Braun cheat or to win or murder Punk? Good. Boy, you really put Braun on the map, though, if you have him beat Punk clean. And I don't think Punk would have a problem doing that whatsoever. So I think it would be the latter, Jeff Hanger. Maybe not murder Punk, but I think, they have a match and Braun just beats him straight up, Wrestling All That says, I think they're merely teasing Jay turning heel to get us more invested when he realizes he was consumed by the greed for the world title, something they've been doing with most fan favorites. Yeah. Yep. I just don't know what's next for Jay in any regard. Whether you turn him heel or you keep him babyface, what is next for Jay? Wrestling All That says Cody had a similar issue. Yeah, maybe a little bit, but yeah, that's true. And even as of recent, they had Cody disqualify himself from the match on SmackDown by hitting Drew with the belt. So, and that felt like that's not typically what a babyface does. I know he's angry, but it's typically not what a babyface does when they're angry. Even they want to give the fans a match. So who knows? But we'll have to figure that out as the weeks go on here, and as we head towards November 1st, which is Saturday night's main event. Let's check the dirt sheets real quick before we sign off and see if there's anything I should be talking about. This is interesting. Just want to make sure about something else that I didn't see. Okay, here we go. This is something to talk about. AEW President Tony Khan has addressed the status of former AEW Women's World Champion Britt Baker, confirming that she's still with the company and that he hopes to see her return to television, hopefully soon. Baker has been on a long-term unexplained hiatus from the AEW program, with her last television appearance taking place in November 2024. Holy crap, almost a whole year. Her prolonged absence, coupled with the removal of this is from SC Scoops, by the way, SCScoops.com. This is aggregated, so I'm just reading what is written here. Mentions her social media profiles in March 2025 has led to rampant speculation among fans about her future and potential move to WWE. Speaking with Z100 in New York, Tony Khan was asked about the former champion, was quick to praise her contributions to the company. What a great star in AEW Dr. Britt Baker has been. She's still a fantastic, fantastic star. She's been away for AEW for a while, but she's still very much with us. And at some point, hopefully soon, I'd love to see Dr. Britt Baker come back. So, interesting. Because Britt's not hurt from what it seems. So, what does that mean? Don't know. Maybe we'll get more clarity tomorrow. Maybe we'll see her tomorrow on Dynamite. Something we can all get excited about. So, but thank you all for tuning in today, as we do every Monday through Friday here at WD Creative _ish X account, at the Dominic D'Angelo X account, at SE Scoops X account, and on YouTube at Ad Free Shows, Rumor Innuendo, and oh, you didn't know? Maybe more to come. But thank you all for joining. Devin Dowling, Wrestling Old Head, Triple E, Jeff Henninger, all the usuals, Dre Owens. But thank you all. If you don't comment, I still appreciate you all viewing and watching. And so, yes, I'll see you tomorrow here on Rumor Innuendo. Best of luck in your future endeavors. And yes, where are you, Dr. Britt Baker? Paging Dr. Britt Baker.